Well, hello. It's Deb Pelche coming to you live via the Lifepro page. Today, in certain parts of the world, the sun is out. This morning here it was, and I just came downstairs after a hailstorm, snowstorm kind of thing. So, how fitting that I jinxed my weather today with the title of our workout, which is Sun's Out, Buns Out. So, we're going to have a lower body focus. I know many of you are probably trying on shorts and bathing suits and things for seasonal times of the year. And, we're not always so happy with what we see in the mirror. So I'm going to talk about a couple of key factors today, toning and weight loss below the waist. And toning and weight loss have a lot of similarities in our mind, but, weight loss, any substantial amounts of weight may take different exercises. We got to consider the vittles and the vibe. Whereas just toning, some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today, maybe it's just an addition or you're spot treating a certain area. So we're going to get into a couple of exercises for the lower body. They're going to improve your muscle tone, help you burn calories, and then we're going to get down on the ground and do some what I would call beauty treatments or body applications. Maybe you've got some lumps and bumps that you'd like to address. Hello, Kim. You're becoming like my fave because you're my regular. Kim is here from Houston. If you're joining me today from somewhere where the sun is out, like Kim, let me know. If the sun is not out in your area, look at these things as being proactive. So where I live in Canada, where it's certainly a seasonal time of year, sometimes these types of exercises fall by the wayside, or our toning and our regularity falls because we can live in sweats and parkas and things like that, and you don't realize until you get into the shorts what maybe we haven't been focusing on. So for many of us here, hi Diana from New York. I encourage you, if you're the type of person that takes pride in what you look like in the summer and you spent a lot of time working on it, what do they say? The summer bodies are built in the winter. So, we're beginning of April here. We've got a couple of months till what I consider my summer, and you'd really be surprised just by picking up your consistency and doing these exercises on a more regular basis, how quickly things starting to tighten and tone up. Hello there, metaphysics lover. The other thing that I just want to leave as my last point is weight loss in particular is this total mental screw over. Please don't allow yourself to be enslaved by the scale and how much you weigh and how much you don't weigh. I think sometimes a lot of our stress and our mind running away with us, sometimes put those pounds on. These stress manifests itself in physical ways. But what you will notice, perhaps you're not losing, if you're looking at losing 20, 30, 40 pounds, you may notice, even though the scale may not be reflecting, the skin tone, the tightness, the outfits might be fitting differently. So what I would challenge you to do if you're looking at getting fitter for summer, pick an outfit, give yourself something within reason, and focus on how that outfit fits today. And, maybe 4 to 6 weeks down the road, sticking with some of the principles that myself, Amber, and Roseanne show you using your vibration plates. So consistency really is the key. And a lot of times, even though we might have a little bit more meat on our bones, if things are firm and we have 2 butt cheeks, not 4, sometimes depending on the underwear that you wear, firmness and muscle definition goes a long way. But what I do caution is if you're a scale lover, muscle weighs more than fat. So you might notice the inch and the firmness and the fitting of this outfit sooner than you notice that gratification number on the scale that you're looking for. So don't beat yourself up. Amen. My stress manifested itself in the body in the form of chronic pain all over my body. And yes, the sun is definitely out in Florida. Cindy's also here from Southeast Florida, cloudy and warm. So depending on you and where you are in your life stage, I'm a post 40 woman, about to be 50 plus woman. And what I would suggest if weight loss is a goal, the biggest tip I can give you is get these things done early in the day. Boost that metabolism so that your idle rate throughout the course of the day is taking a few more calories out of that bank. And, I know I have a lot of distractions. I'm a busy mom. And sometimes I'm the worst procrastinator. So if I leave it till later in the day, I don't. So lower body exercises, some of the stuff we're going to do today are the best bang for your buck, not only for weight loss, but for boosting that metabolism, getting things lifted. And if you can do them earlier in the day, especially if you're post 40, get them over and done with. And it doesn't need to be a big, mean, long, drawn out session. So I'm going to show you 3 to 4 very simple moves today. If you choose to do more reps, really depends on your level of fitness. It's so hard in the medical world. We call it dosage. In the personal training and fitness world, we talk about reps and time, and what that looks like for everyone is going to be a little bit different based on your current, conditioning and deficiencies that you may or may not be dealing with. But there's ways to use your plate not only for toning and strength, but cardio. And again, I encourage you, if these are the type of activities that you've gone away from because of things like chronic pain, that Metaphysis lover, I'm just gonna call you my lover. I need to know your name. But there's things that you can do on this platform to maybe manage those deficiencies, or if you do deal with chronic issues, so that you can get to the fitness. So if you are dealing with chronic issues, bad knees, things like that, I encourage you to do a warm-up, a good warm-up. Just being active on the plate is going to get some benefit going on its own. And maybe that's where you're at right now until you progress and feel a little bit more stable. We are going to start with a very small warm-up. I'm going to turn on my lights so I can sparkle a little bit more for you. Forgot to do that. And I've really only brought a couple of torture tools with me today. Many of you have seen me do my sessions in some of my hacks and how you do those inner and outer thighs. So really, as far as extra tools, I didn't post anything today because, you don't have to have tools, but some of the things I'm going to incorporate you may already have as a Lifepro member. Hello, Lynn from Buffalo, New York, and Sheila from Kentucky, and Rhonda from Pasco, Washington. I am going to leave you guys lots of question time at the end of this because we've got 2 months and we've got to get into those shorts. Some of you are already into short season and maybe need your questions answered quickly. So I'm going to get to some questions at the end of my short little spiel here. And I'm going to just encourage, if you haven't worked out today, or you're working out for the first time, some of my stuff is repetitive because guess what? Consistency is key. I talk about that all the time. So I'm working, as always, just in oscillating mode, whether you like to use a program or, vertical, or pulsation or lateral, depending on the type of platform that you have. I teach oscillating because it's the most functional movement. That's how we walk across the floor. And all of Lifepro's models have that basic fundamental movement. So everything I do is in oscillating. What you choose to experiment with, once you get the basic moves down, the moves are universal. How it feels and what settings eventually become a bit of a preference. So if you're just starting out and dealing with deficiencies, the control is on you. If it's too aggressive, bring your feet closer to the center. If you want more action, you're used to this, you've been doing it a while, hip width apart is usually as much as I coach unless we're getting into some specific positions. So I want you about hip width apart. Depending on what model you have, I want you at a mid range on your speed level. And I want you bent your knees enough so that you're not feeling it in the head. The taller you stand, the more you'll feel it in your head. See how that transition changes? So bend those knees enough. You should feel it really no more up than the collarbone and the neck, a little bit of a tickle. And I want you to very relaxed, just start doing some light pelvic tilts as our warm up today. So tilt up and back. I always do pelvic tilts or little circles. All I'm trying to do, whatever your preference is, I want to loosen you up in this area before I kill you on the other stuff. It's going to improve your range of motion. If you spend a lot of time sitting or you wake up stiff and sore, it's just a really good way to loosen things up, get things moving, improve your range of motion. And if you are dealing with mobility concerns, the better your range of motion in this area, the deeper your squats are going to be, the easier it's going to be to get up off the floor after we get you all massaged and so forth. So it seems like a little annoying thing that I do in all my sessions, but this is my basic fundamental start. Make your own variations from here. The point is to warm up kind of from the knees to the armpit, which I call the core. If you're dealing, with low back issues, you know, you might be doing things that look like this already. So again, the whole point is just to loosen up this area and give it about 1 to 2 minutes, depending on if you haven't done a routine today and this is your first run, you might want to do like a 1 to 2 minute warm up, get the blood flowing. If you are dealing with chronic issues and you're stiff, you may want to extend that for as long as 3 to 5 minutes. Totally up to you, okay? So the first exercise we're going to start with is some very basic step ups. I want to incorporate a little bit of cardio today and show you how to do that. A lot of people say there's no cardio with vibration machines, but there is increased cardio or lung function that is recruited with you, improving your movement, increasing your movement. You know, how much stress you're putting on those muscles, how many calories you're requiring them to recruit to get the activity done. So I'm going to do a couple variations on this. If you're doing, you know, this type of an activity now, I don't encourage you jump on your plate. I want a very fluid motion. We're going to start with stepping up and stepping back down off the plate. And as we're doing that, our feet are going to line up at that hip width marker, which is kind of in the middle. If you find it's too aggressive, again, bring your feet closer to the center. So we're going to start very slowly up, keeping the knees bent while we step up, okay? If you need to go slower, you can go slower. It really depends on your body and, you know, what you might be dealing with. I would like, if this is a new activity for you, you know, your cardio is down and you're not terribly conditioned, you might find this comfortable for about a 1 to 2 minute period. You can certainly do it longer, but, you know, I'm not a big fan of doing anything more than a minute or two. I get bored. I want to do different things. So if you're finding, you know, 30 seconds, a minute into this, you could do it all day long. Pick up your pace. Pick it up, okay? Still not jumping on the plate. We're just doing very fluid movements. We're keeping the knees slightly bent, okay? For all my cardio queens and kings out there, I'm hoping you have better balance. The next progression on this, I would want you to step up and lift your opposite leg up beside you. So I'll show you what that looks like. Up, up, up. That would be the next variation, okay? If you have poor mobility or poor balance, you may want to place your plate up against a wall, have a stool, a chair back, something in front of you, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you want to improve strength, weight yourself up, put on a vest. I've got all these amazing clip weights from Lifepro. Your muscles will work harder by increasing your mass. And for my ladies out there, just because you're increasing mass doesn't mean you're giving yourself big bodybuilder muscles. It's just a way of fatiguing yourself faster. And as crazy as it sounds, if you are dealing, you know, with arthritis or joint pain, you know, it's not everybody's looking to go for 20, 30 minutes. You know, sometimes those joints don't last as long as the muscles do. So, you know, maybe adding a little bit of weight. If you don't have weights at home, grab a backpack and throw a couple liters of water or a bag of rice in the back and just make yourself a little bit heavier to push those muscles to fatigue faster. Reduce the time on the joints, and you should find a good balance that way. The next progression I want to go to, we are going to get to some squats. That was a little bit of a step up. I wanted to get the blood flowing, the heart rate going a little bit. But it is called Buns. You know, there's some turns in there. I want to target the glutes. And my favorite way to target the glutes is through squats and lunges. So while we're kind of in this rhythm, I'm going to show you just a very simple variation on the step-ups we were doing that kind of is a little bit more lungy, but we're going to target that glute a little bit more. So what I want you to do with this one, I got to move my chair. I want you, instead of just being in front of the plate as we were doing, I want you bringing this first one back, and I want you to come up. And it's probably easier, ooh, I almost need to hang on. Probably easier for you to do this at one leg at a time. And we're coming back down into that lunge. I hope you can see that movement. Okay. By getting deeper, you're going to feel the glutes. And what I'd encourage, if you're super coordinated, on the way up, clench that supporting glute, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you've got the ability to isolate that right butt cheek as I'm doing right now, and bring it up. And then of course you got to do both sides, right? So the next one, and there's a bazillion variations. I just thought this would be a little bit fun for today. So we're going to bring this up, back down. And you're going to have one side that's better than the other. It's just the way that it goes. But if you can, see I'm at a 90-degree angle, try and get yourself low. That's when you're going to feel that glute engage and launch yourself up onto the platform. Up. Okay. Now you may find, you can put an aerobic step, or if you want to make your surface a little bit more level, but some of these are just variations to get that heart rate going, target the muscle groups, and you'll find if you do start doing movement on the platform, keep it controlled, don't resist the vibration, keep it fluid, and maybe you're dealing with, I don't know, chronic lung issues, or you've had an infection, or you've got respiratory issues. You can get yourself to a level of fatigue, but maybe the muscles aren't done yet. So you could just finish off, if you wanted to burn the legs, in a static pose with any of these. Or if you're not so coordinated and we're wobbling all over on those, the big goal in this lunge is to hit that glute muscle. Okay? Here's some for coffee. Oh, I see you talking. Never thought of doing step aerobics. Well, yes. Again, I just want to stress, don't be jumping up and down on your plate. You know what I mean? Keep it fluid. The whole point of these machines is when your foot makes contact with the plate, those micro movements are stimulating your muscle. And if you're not giving it too much of a chance to connect, it makes it challenging stepping up. But, go buy an aerobic step and beat it up. Don't jump all over your vibration plate. Don't do that. Cindy from New York. Awesome. Hello, Kim. This is great, guys. I appreciate you being here. So, of course, my next progression, because we're going to keep working the lower body, is this part, those inner and outer thighs. So, again, variations on things that you're probably already doing. I've got a couple of tools here. You've probably seen me do this in other sessions. If you don't have the yoga wheel set, totally recommend it for lots of different things. Different body parts. But for this position, I love the little ring. And then what I do with it is I just put it right between my legs, just above the knees, okay? And then what I'm going to do with my squats, while I'm doing my squats, it forces those inner and outer thighs to become a part of the equation. So instead of having to do separate exercises, you can fire up more muscle groups just by adding a little toy in between the legs. This one here, if you don't have the yoga ring set, maybe you've got a kid around the house or you've got a ball. This one I've gotten the air taken out of it a little bit. You can mimic the same thing. Just put that between the legs. Forces those muscles to hang on to it. So this would look like, we'll start static. Okay. Put that between the legs. And if you haven't done lots of squats on the machine, I want to make sure you're stable before you add accessories of this nature. But if you've spent some time on your machine, you shouldn't find it terribly challenging. Just make sure that your feet aren't so wide that you're kind of coming in at an angle. Again, feet should be hip width apart. The knees shouldn't be collapsing in to hold this. If they are, bring your feet closer together. If your knees are bowing outwards, whatever you're using might be a little too wide. Just something wide enough to have that natural stance. And what I recommend from here is simply slow, dynamic movement. And the slower you go, the more you'll feel that pressure kind of build on the muscles. Again, I would like to do this at a mid to high speed level range. So if your machine goes 100 speeds, I want you in the 70 to 80 range on this one. Slow dynamic movement. If you wanted a little bit more cardio, you could speed it up a little bit. The faster you go, the more cardio it is. The slower you go, the more you'll feel the fatigue directly in the muscles themselves. Okay, so that's, what I'd like to say again, 1 to 2 minutes. If you find with this you're not fatiguing in 1 to 2 minutes, make it harder, add some weight, or do a couple of reps. If you're the type of person that likes to do the big 20-minute, half hour, or hour workout, totally up to you. I'm trying to teach you principles that make it quick, simple, get it over and done with. If you want to draw it out or go longer, completely whatever your training style is, okay? The point in the morning of toning and getting these exercises done early in the day, it's kind of like HIIT training. I want to get you to fatigue fast so you can get on with your day. So I'm just going to set this one back aside for now. It's my favorite little add-on to a squat. And I would suggest if you're not doing squats regularly now, just start with the basics. And the basic would look more like something like this, again, about hip width apart. I still want you at that same speed range, that mid to high range. And we're just going to go static, holding still, go as deep as your range of motion allows, and just hold still until you fatigue. Maybe you move up a little bit. If you're not using the platform now for squats, sometimes when you start moving, the technique just hasn't developed yet and you're kind of wobbling all over the place. So just work, maybe in different angles. So start really, really low for maybe 30 seconds. Come mid for 15 to 20 seconds. Really depends on you. And then once you feel comfortable, slow, controlled, dynamic movement. You never want to feel like you're fighting or resisting the machine, okay? Lower body, legs, as far as the exercises, that was just 2 simple variations. So lunges, step ups, same kind of thing, just a variation. And the squats, I've covered some of these basic ones before. And then what I would suggest, if skin tone, maybe you've lost some weight and your skin's a little bit saggy, and range of motion allows, I'm going to show you some massage options now as well. I'm going to grab my glasses. Wait. Oh, I forgot I have side pockets today. Hang on. Before I get into massage, so I'll make sure I haven't broken anybody on their machine if they're joining me. I have Sheila from Kentucky. I have Lynn from Buffalo. I think I said hello. I have Facebook user from Queens. And then never thought of doing aerobic moves on. What a great suggestion. Yeah, I mean, if you're of my era and you have all those videotapes in your basement of exercise workouts, I had several of those things back in the day. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some exercises that you've enjoyed in the past. Try to focus on things that you're kind of good at. Like if you know how to do a lunge really well, do lunges. If you know how to do squats really well, do squats. But lower body exercises, even though you might be targeting other areas, the best bang for your buck as far as burning calories is going to be those lunges, those squats, anything that's going to fire up those big muscle groups, the quads and the glutes. The massage portion, which we're going to get to next, is going to be a little bit of a different effect. You're not going to get the calorie burn. You're not going to get the toning in the muscles themselves to a degree. But massaging, if your range of motion allows, it's really kind of there's a variety of ways that you can apply massage. A lot of my guys like to use it as a warm-up or a wind down before the gym. Really helps with flexibility, mobility, warms those muscle groups up, prevents injury, helps recover faster from injury. So, massage is one way to target those type of reasons. But a lot of my ladies like to use it for skin tone. And skin is the biggest organ we have in our body. Even though we might be massaging today just in the lower body, you will over time see overall effects. Make sure that you're hydrated and the building blocks, those nutritional supports are in place for the activity that we're increasing. If you haven't been active for a very long time, we're moving a lot of lymph, a lot of circulation. And guess what? You might be a little sore the next day. That's kind of what happens. And sometimes if you are dealing with chronic issues and haven't done these exercises in a while, we kind of forget sometimes the difference between, I worked out and exercised and the muscles are changing from the chronic pain. So, especially if it's a knee or an elbow or a hip, sometimes we associate it more with something wrong with other than, instead of it being muscles that have maybe just been deconditioned and a little bit sore. So if you do find you're a little bit sore after these exercises, it's that, hurts so good kind of sore because you've done something and you've just started exercising again. The massage is a really good way to help dissipate the pain. You do not need to suffer after the exercise. And a lot of people comment to me that they don't find, if they did their regular set of exercises on the machine versus the floor, they're not as sore. And the reason for that is the machine's always moving your lymph and your circulation. So it's kind of doing a bit of the recovery while you're doing the work, if you want to look at it that way. But if you are dealing with chronic issues like me with my knee, or, it just feels good, a little bit of massage is going to go a really long way with the recovery. But the skin tone itself, the tightening of the skin, if you've lost a lot of weight, especially in a shorter period of time, the skin takes a little longer to retract. And if you've been carrying a lot of extra weight for a long time and lost weight, the skin's been stretched out for a little while to a degree, but there's a lot of improvement that I've seen on the machine. And, couple that with the exercise. Muscle tone is important, and you want to keep off the weight if you've lost it. But massaging directly is just a really good way to target skin tone. And tone is that, exercise is toning the muscles versus toning the skin. That's kind of what I wanted to break that down. So I wish I could tell you could just sit on your machine and you'd get like a rock star butt, but you're going to have to do the exercises that engage the muscles. This is going to be more of what I would call passive as far as an application. And then I'm going to come back. What is the key to doing lunge? I feel challenged. I didn't get deep enough. If you're having trouble with a lunge now, don't go deeper. Start a basic lunge. You don't have to go as deep as I did in the 45-degree angle. The key sometimes with a lunge, and I should have pointed this out, think like you're on a balance beam. And often when we start a lunge for the first time, this is our first foot on the machine, and this is our back foot, and you feel like you're doing this. Widen your stance. So, the back leg, widen in distance from the front foot so you're a little bit more stable in doing that exercise. I hope that makes sense. Try and give you a visual. So if I'm standing on the machine like this with my foot right behind it, you might feel like you're kind of doing this teeter-totter thing. What you should do with the back foot, the rudder, is widen up your stance a little bit so that you feel more stable. Try that first before you start going deeper. And, everybody's range of motion varies. So if you can't go as deep as Debbie, don't think that I wasn't wobbling a little bit. This is my third live session today. But you can certainly make sure that you're working within the parameters of not only your range of motion, but any deficiencies. If you're dealing with a bad knee or something, don't be going low yet. Just get used to how it feels, and you can progress within that position as your body gets stronger and you become more stable and have had a little practice with the position, especially if you haven't done these type of things on the floor. So let's get to the massage. So massage, depending on you and your tolerance, you may want to use your mat that came with the machine. I use it for some things, not for all things, and it really just depends on you and your sensitivities. But I would suggest, I kind of have a little routine that I do here, because once I get into massage, I'm lazy. I'll do all the work when it's work time, but when I get into massage, I kind of like to do my own little flow, and this is how I wind down. So I'm going to sit on the floor. My calves are just placed on the machine. Again, hip width apart. Just like when you're standing, you want more intensity, widen it up. If it's a little bit too choppy or too strong, closer together with the legs. You want your feet just past the platform so that your ankles, or you don't want your heels on the platform. And depending on the length of your legs, like my knee bends comfortably off the edge, you might find that you might be able to get a little bit of your thigh on at the same time. Everybody's leg length is a little bit different. But for this one, any massage directly when you're doing it of this variety, I would say probably 2 minutes per body part is really all that you need. Sometimes if you're using massage for chronic pain, it's not the fitness stuff we're talking about today. There are exceptions to every rule, but massaging longer and longer and longer, half-hour a day isn't going to, replace surgical treatments or things that you may be considering. But it is, give your body over time will improve. So 2 to maybe 3 minutes per body part. The next position after we do the calves is to move up and get the back sides of the thighs. So again, depending on the length of your legs, my knees are just bent, so I want your heels just sort of resting on the floor. I don't want your heels or your feet flat on the machine. It's just butt bone on the machine. You want to get that meaty underside. Now, how as a woman, when you're standing up, your thighs are one size, and then you sit down, and they're like double the size. You want to get as much real estate on this plate as you can. So for this one, I've got my butt cheeks just sort of off the edge. If you're sensitive to head vibrations, or you're just not used to it yet, they're not harmful. How we harm ourselves with head vibes is fighting and resisting the machine because we're rigid and it's shaking us all. Just relax and lean forward a little bit. It's not harmful at all. Sitting on the machine, you got a little more meat on your bones and the thighs and the butt, so you'll probably be able to tolerate a higher speed. I recommend absolutely when you're sitting on the machine, higher speed range. So if you've got a machine that goes 100, hit it at 80 to 90 plus. Just mix it up from week to week. It's not about going faster and faster and longer and longer. keep your positions the same, your durations the same, but mix up your speed every week so your body's still confused and doesn't adapt to any one thing. You'll just start maintaining after a period of time if you just do it the same all the time. So this one here, again, I would do this for probably 2 minutes, 3 minutes max if it's just a feel-good thing. While you're seated on the machine, there's a number of other benefits. If you want to add a little bit of upper body, you can sit on your hands, palms down, just to get a little bit of relaxation up into the neck and the shoulders while you're already down here. And if you've got areas you're trying to target of little cellulite or stretch marks, sometimes they're on the outer thighs and the top thighs. I'm going to show you how to do that today. But feel free to experiment with how you sit on it. You can also lean back onto your hands. Maybe you want to lean over onto one hip or this side here, or maybe while you're down here you realize I got a tight muscle in my butt cheek. So sort of experiment with what feels good to you. But the primary position of being seated on the machine is going to help with cellulite. It's going to help with low back pain. It's going to help you recover from the stuff we did earlier with the legs. It's going to help with urinary incontinence and constipation. If you are dealing with incontinence issues, or you're a new mom, and part of the reason you're trying to get fit is to tighten things up in that area, do some Kegels while you're sitting on it. It just ramps up the effects of that exercise. So while you're sitting here, do a minute or two of Kegels instead of just sitting here. Just a variation. The next one requires a little bit of range of motion. We're going to target kind of above the muffin top to the bottom of the tailbone. Now, you may want to use something to lay your upper body on to prop yourself up. What I want you to do is bring your bum forward. We're going to lay down. You do not do any of these lengthways. It's not good. Just trust me. So we're going down the middle of the machine. I'm just resting up on my forearms, and I've got my low back, sort of that tire part, the meaty part, laying on the machine. You can leave your feet flat for this. You can bring them up to your chest. You can put them up to, do what you want to do. Okay, the more you kind of play with the angles, maybe you roll this way. So primarily, yes, today we're doing this for skin tone, but it's an awesome way to get into the low back. Maybe you've got hip tension. Maybe you just sit all day and it just feels good. So again, 2 to 3 minutes on this one. Now we're going to keep going, and we're going to target that outer thigh. Your hip is your point of contact. So I want you to start with your hip landing in the middle of the platform. We're just going to turn over on our side. And I'm going to rest on this forearm. Again, if you have upper body issues, or it's hard to hold yourself up, you might want to get yourself an aerobic step or prop yourself up on a couple of pillows. So what we're going to do with this one, my hip is in the middle of the plate. We're going to lay this flat down and the other one on top of it. Now, depending on how this feels, if you want more intensity, start moving your hips away from the center. Excuse me. Depending on the length of your thighs. So my hip is kind of at about the walk position behind me, and the rest of my outer thigh is on the plate. Again, if you're up on your arm like this, you'll feel a little bit more in the hip socket. You might want to roll around. You can lay yourself down a little bit further. Just experiment. Everybody's torso length and upper body strength, and there's a lot of variables. So experiment with what feels comfortable. These aren't meant to be hard positions. You're just to be relaxed, and it's working the skin tone. And if it feels uncomfortable, or like maybe you got a sticky outy hip bone or something, that's where you may want to put your mat on the machine. I've got yoga mats built in, so I'm good. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to flip over, and we're going to target the top of the thighs. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how to do the inner. We, of course, would have done the other side on that one. So I should show you that. All I do is flip over, right? So you've done one side, now you just flip over, face the other way, and do your other hip, okay? So this one, I would recommend having your controls between your legs going this way, because I'm going to show you how to put the mummy tummy on there. And you don't want the mummy tummy hitting the buttons and speeding it up or slowing it down, yada, yada, okay? So for this one, you may want to mat up the first time you try it, because you might get on it with your knees and it might not feel good. But what you want to do is push yourself back till the kneecaps are just off the plate. Lay those thighs down and just rest yourself on your forearms. Depending on the length of your thighs, Right now, I am just from above my knees to just kind of, at my navel, if you will. I don't have my tummy or my hips physically on the machine, although I will show you how to do that next. For me personally, instead of leaving my legs stretched out like this, I like to bring my legs up. I find it puts a little bit more body weight into it. And then I kind of like to just move my legs back and forth, kind of drill them in there a little bit. Whatever feels good. Again, experiment. You are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. To do the mummy tummy, you may need to scooch yourself down a little bit further. You're fine up until the belly button. I see no issue. I've never had a client have an issue with this. Okay? A lot of my clients with things like IBS or Crohn's and indigestion just love doing this for their stomach. They just think it feels good. We're doing it for things like stretch marks and swelling and excess skin in these areas. So, after you've done all those sit-ups and other things that you're doing to target this area, this is a really nice way to just target the skin tone itself directly. Okay? Again, 2 minutes to start off. See how that feels? Now I'm going to show you how to do this inner thigh. This one takes a little bit more range of motion. You're going to lay down. Controls are on this end of the machine. You're going to lay down beside the machine, resting up on the forearm and just right up against it. And you're going to take this thigh and you're going to wrap it up on the machine. And you're kind of, that inner part that wears out the jeans first at the top of the thigh, you should be able to hook it right on there. And then the inner thigh up to the knee is laying on the machine. If you want more intensity, change the position of where your knee is on the machine, this way or that way. So you're starting with your inner thigh and your knee in the middle of the platform. If you want more intensity, just extend your leg out a little bit and you'll feel more shake. Okay? Again, on this one, 2 minutes to start perhaps. I want to give you a visual the other way because I don't want to kiss the wall. We're going to bring this up. We're going to hook it on. And what I like to do to get that thigh in there a little deeper is I keep turning it the torso and I rest on my two upper arms. You can see that it just kind of tilts the torso into it a little bit more. This is really nice on the hips too. Just opens them up, gives them a little bit of a stretch. Now, I don't do all of the massage moves all the time. If it's summer and you're out doing other activities, maybe just some of the massage to complement the other things that you're doing. If you're looking to, keep a routine going over the summer, you want to keep things tight and firm for those shorts. What I showed you this morning, less Debbie's yapping. If you're looking at a minute or two per position, you should be done in 12, 15 minutes. If you take, you never go longer on the squats and the lunges. It's always this stuff. But and if you have other activities that you're doing on your plate or other programs, some of these massage positions are just going to help target that area below the waist, if you will. So early in the day with your work, with your squats, your lunges, boost that metabolism. So throughout the course of the day, that idle rate is taking a few more calories out of the bank. Biggest hack that I can give you. If you're dealing with poor mobility, pain, a lot of these things, cut out dynamic movement until you're comfortable on the plate. For those of you that are comfortable on the plate and you want to bring up the cardio and maybe burn some more calories, slow dynamic movement is the best way to utilize this plate. You want to keep the muscle load going, but you'll feel the wind once you start physically moving. So those are a few tips I hope that have been helpful. And the best way to be successful, of course, is consistent, regular use. Don't make it a whole bunch of hard, weird, exotic exercises that you've never done before. You'll just either demotivate or hurt yourself. Keep it simple. Learn that basic squat, learn that basic lunge, and work within variations from there. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I'm going to grab my specs, and I'm going to come back to see what questions my gallery of people may have. Okay, and where did I leave off? And if those of you that are just joining me missed any of the exercises, of course, the recording will be posted later on here. But I want to give you guys a chance to blast me now. Kim says she really loves the massage for recovery. Yes, I know that you do. Kim was on one of my other lives today, too. Any suggestions for pelvic floor pain and bladder issues would be greatly appreciated. Don't have my crystal ball here today, but it really depends to a degree what's causing the pain. pelvic floor and bladder issues are common, but pain in those areas isn't always common. So have we got some hernias going on, or the laziest, easiest way if range of motion allows is to sit and work on some of those Kegels, as I talked about. And if you're not able to sit on the plate, those pelvic tilts. So while you're doing your pelvic tilts, do your Kegels. I'm assuming your guys can do Kegels too. This isn't just a chick thing. So you tilt forward, Kegel, back, release, forward, Kegel, back, release. It just really depends on you. Kegels are a simple, I like to call them a frontline exercise. They can be so helpful in preventing things. It's not a needle, it's not drugs. It's just engaging those pelvic floor muscles. And a lot of times, if you've had trauma in that area due to a baby, there's lots of different reasons a woman has trauma down there. That may be contributing to a weakness in the muscles. And sometimes in some of the population, those muscles are over conditioned. We're workout gurus and we do Kegels all the time and we're obsessed with it. And sometimes I've seen with some of my clients, the muscles are so tense and so tight in those areas that they're not actually closing, and you're getting leakage that way. So, everything in moderation, if you will. What is the key to doing a lunge? I think I addressed that for you earlier. If I did not, please message me and I can tell you where I talked about that on the video. Replying from a Facebook user. Thanks. I'm hoping that's you. Kathleen says, hello, Debbie. I missed what speed you were using or multi-positional program setting. I use everything in the mid to high range, unless I'm doing something balance specific with someone that has the skill set. Some of my yogis, my Pilates folks, the really, really slow speeds and levels on an oscillating platform are very destabilizing and wobbly. And, we think like a treadmill, like we should start slow. It's completely a different thing. There's two factors with your vibration machine in this type of movement. So you've got your speed, or frequency, or how many times it's moving you, but you've got how much you're moving as well. So if you're really wide on the plate, you're moving lots and it's lots of shake, and you couple that with a slow speed, it's very much like just being on a Bosu ball. And not everybody has the best experience. So if you've got hypermobility, joint pain, for whatever reason, we have a tendency to guard and protect and fight to try and stay stable. And then you suck it up for 10 minutes because that's what the machine out of the box was preset at. We've got to use a little common sense sometimes. If you're getting off the couch for the first time in 20 years and you got a whole bunch of chronic issues, don't go 10 minutes. Try 3 or 2 and see how you feel. You can always do a little more later, but you can't take that time away. And I don't want you, sitting on your couch for 2 days because you tried to do something good for yourself and overdid it. We all do it. And, if you used to be an athlete and were really conditioned back in the day and are just getting back to that, don't start back with the same veracity where you left off. Give your body time to not only get customized to exercising again, but to this new technology that's ramping up the benefits and the effects of those exercises themselves. Would the lunges help stretch the Achilles tendons, or would there be something else? Lunges, yes, they can. They're going to help strengthen, but if you're trying to target the Achilles for whatever reason, there's a couple of different ways I would suggest. Let me show you now. Where's my torture tools? 2 ways. So if we're looking at the lunge, because, the more we can combine into one thing, the better. Just do a couple where you've got like your heel off the edge of the plate, so you're actually stretching that tendon itself, or put your foot on the plate. Hang on, I gotta make sure that my form is perfect. Okay, straight, come up, down, up, down. That's gonna help you not only with strength, but with stability. I don't want you rolling your ankle if you've got an issue in that area. And if you're able to massage, a really good way, and how I do this in a lot of my cerebral palsy videos is like this, is the good old pull noodle. Or if you've got a roller or any of these tools with Lifepro, just apply some manual massage to that area. Your Achilles, the back of your knees, there's certain areas that don't actually come in contact with the plate. And I use a swimming pool noodle because it's a softer density than it just works better with the plate, just to get into those nooks and those crannies. And then what I would suggest, if you're going to do it this way, do a series where you're pulling them towards you to stretch, and then maybe point. And you might want to do this as a warm-up if this is an area of concern for you, or you've had an injury. You may want to warm up some of those areas specifically, and massage is a really good way to do that. So just some little hacks. And if you're feeling, you don't have to do a whole workout if you're having a deficiency. If you've got something going on with your ankles or your knees, and you find the machine gives you a little relief, use it for a couple of minutes throughout the course of the day as a spot treatment. It's not always a big workout. Sometimes just moving and feeling better motivates you to do the stuff that gets you back in those shorts, which is the reason we're here today. So start moving and feeling better, and stop beating yourself up about, doing the big lunges or adding a whole bunch of weight. Progress. Just keep moving forward. It doesn't matter how slowly, one step forward at a time. What else? I learned a lot today. Thank you. Thanks for all the helpful hints. No, I appreciate that. We're all very different in not only our body types, but in our goals and our expectations of ourselves. And we're often our very own worst critics. So just make sure that you be kind to yourself. And the biggest hack I can give you about the plates, and everybody's got the best of intentions when it comes to exercise, but life sometimes gets in the way. Sometimes it's not pain. Sometimes I'm just lazy and I don't want to. I'll admit it. But I always feel a little better if I just, even if it's just a minute of some pelvic tilts, or, if I've been sitting too long and my sciatic's flaring up, I'm just like you guys, I know what to do, but, I'll do it later sometimes, and then I pay the price. So, 2 to 3 minutes whenever you need, if you're dealing with chronic things like neuropathy, and, the body's progressed that some of these exercises seem completely impossible. Nothing's impossible. I've seen too many miracles. It's that consistent, regular use that's going to win the race for you in the long run. And if you're not able to perform these exercises at the velocity I was showing today, just take progressions towards them. Where you start and where you finish are always two very different places. Okay. But consistent, regular use, even if it's just feel good, sometimes on an off day, to keep the work that you have done in check. And just don't be so hard on yourself. Okay. It's Motivational Monday, so I'm supposed to make you feel a little bit warm and fuzzy. Okay. I don't know if I have anyone else. If you do have questions, now is your time to blast me. If you don't have any questions, you must know everything that you're doing, and you've learned all my lessons, and you're ready to get those shorts going for summer. So I mentioned early on, I'm not a big fan of the scale. It's so misleading, yet we beat ourselves up so, like we're slaves to it. So pick an outfit, something within reason, that maybe isn't fitting as it should, or you've already gotten into the Easter chocolate like me. Perhaps you need to be more realistic, and stop beating yourself up about the number. Muscle weighs more than fat does. So I think you'll find if things are firmer, and you notice inches, but you're not seeing it on the scale, that's progress. So don't get yourself psyched out because the scale goes this way or that way. I've had clients gain lots of weight when they first start exercising with me. Sometimes it's water retention, sometimes it's just a lot of different things, but the steady horse wins the race. So short-term indicators are not long-term gains, so don't beat yourself up. And again, if there's any other questions, thank you for motivating me to get back into the fitness aspect of my therapies. Kim, you're a sweetheart. Kim has a lot of chronic things going on, and if anybody can go from point A to B like she has, and with her success, any of you can do this. But sometimes we just need a Debbie in our corner nagging us and motivating us to do the work. So I'm happy to do that for you. I will be back here next Monday, even though it is Easter. Lauren and I thought, because I've already gotten into the Easter eggs, perhaps we should do a Monday session because you guys are all going to be home. So I will be doing a Motivational Monday next week. And then Tuesday of next week, I believe is, I want to say Parkinson's awareness. I have a few awareness events coming up this month, which is my favorite thing to do, is bring awareness not only to these conditions, but how you can manage all the symptoms with these vibration machines and all these amazing self-care tools that Lifepro brings. And, every week I find a new way to combine my yoga wheel or my red light, or there's always something that sometimes very often comes from a question that you guys have presented. So there is no exact science in Debbie's world. I wish everything has been studied and researched and there was a formula that was the success to everything. But the reality is there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of preferences, and you got a lot of choice in the products here. Just make sure that what you do have, you're putting to use. And that's where that consistency thing comes in. So anything else you're looking at combining for your Suns Out, Buns Out workout, if you're using red light therapies or you're using compressions or you're using weights, have fun and try incorporating some of these technologies with your plate. Thank you. Doesn't she just make me look good? Boom. There's the magic in the comments. So April 4th, Suns Out, Buns Out. April 11th is World Parkinson's Day. April 18th is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a week off. April 18th is post-Easter workout. And then on April 25th, it's World IBS Day. I know you've been waiting, but there's a lot of people suffering with IBS and gut issues and Parkinson's, and there's all these labels out there. And, what I love showing you is what you do on the machine isn't about the label that's on your forehead or whatever the diagnosis is. It's about you, what you're physically able and willing to do, and I'll help you fill in the blanks on the rest, okay? Thank you, Lauren, and Superdog Olive for posting those. And I appreciate all of you guys for joining me today, and have a fabulous Monday and rest of your week. If the sun is out, get your butt out and enjoy the nice day. Use your machine for a bit before you head out for that walk and after, to just make everything better. Thanks so much, guys. I challenge you, try this for the next couple. If this is your goal, give her in the mornings, get into a routine. The hardest part is setting a habit. So 21 days, they say it takes to make or break a habit. See if you can stick to 5 minutes in the morning, and let's maybe check back in a few weeks and see where some of you are at. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. Have a great Monday.